There are countless delicious burgers and countless videos about making them. So today I'm sharing not only 3 delicious burger recipes that range from fast and easy to definitely more involved, but I think well worth your time. All of the components that I make today will work on any burger, so don't feel limited to just making the exact burger I show you. Feel free to mix them up. I'm also going to cover 3 of the most popular beef blends. So each one of these uses a different blend from 75-25, 80-20, and 85-15. First up is the now legendary Oklahoma onion burger. I started with the 75-25 ground beef and I scaled it to 4 ounces, but you can also eyeball this. Or if you get a 1-pound pack, divide it into 4 pieces. And just like any smash style burger, you need to form it into a ball. Using an ice cream scooper is popular in restaurants, but that is not a tool that I own. I go with the classic meatball technique where I repeatedly throw the ball into one hand to condense it and then roll it up. Because the classic Oklahoma onion burger takes just yellow mustard as a condiment, the sweetness that most of us look for in a burger comes from the onion. And I always use sweet, aka Vidalia or Spanish onions, not just for an onion burger, but across the board, it is my standard onion and it really shines here. So peel one, split it in half, and I would strongly recommend if you have a mandolin to use it, because you really want to shave these as thinly as possible. To me, the classic Oklahoma onion burger is a bun, yellow mustard, chip pickles, American cheese, and the onion patty. So cooking this is as easy as gathering the condiments and cooking the burger. I got my griddle smoking hot and added the beef, seasoned it pretty heavily with kosher salt, and added a very large pile of the shaved onions. Then I used a wide spatula to smash the patty down and all of the shaved onions into it. You really want to flatten this thing because the extra surface area is going to lead to more delicious browning and it will shrink as it cooks. Because this is 25% fat, you do not need to add any oil to get a great sear, and it's really perfect for any type of smash burger where it's going to be well done. A lot of the extra fat is going to be rendered out of the meat, and you'll be left with all of the textural and flavor benefits of the high fat content patty. That said, I almost never use 75-25 at home because all of the extra fat means a lot of extra smoke in your kitchen. After a few minutes, flip the burger over to caramelize the onion and cook it through. Add a slice of American cheese, the top of your bun, and then the bottom. I'm going with Martin's potato roll, not only because it has a little bit of extra sweetness, but they also taste and smell great, and it really holds up well to the steaming, which is gonna almost perfume the bun with this delicious caramelizing onion smell. After a few more minutes, take the patty off, add yellow mustard and 3 or 4 slices of pickles to the bottom bun. This is easily the fastest of the 3 burgers that I'm making today, and while the sheer amount of onion may be intimidating to some of you, they get cooked so much they almost melt and really just become a sweet condiment when it's time to actually eat the thing. Next up is what I think is the easiest way to get a sort of classic American diner style burger, which I think of as a half smash. So I started with the 80-20 beef blend, which I also formed into a 4-ounce ball. This fat content is, for me, practically the one that I almost always use because it's a great blend of textures and flavors, as well as avoiding the smoky downside of a higher fat content beef. This process starts the same as the onion burger, and 80-20 beef still does not need any oil. So add the meat, season it liberally with kosher salt, and as you can see, I'm going with the double patty here, and then smash it down like before, but don't press it as much. That's why I call it the half smash, because you're looking for less of a flat, caramelized burger and more of a traditional patty. Cook this for a few minutes until the bottom is nicely browned, then flip it. Add your cheese of choice. In my case, I went with sliced American again. And then once the bottom is brown and the burger is cooked through, stack them up and it's time to build this. I went with a classic special sauce by combining some QP mayo, ketchup, yellow mustard, chopped up pickles, and paprika. Add this to both the top and bottom buns, stack your meat, throw on some torn green leaf or romaine lettuce, and I went with a lacto-fermented half-sour pickle chip. If none of those words that I just said made any sense to you, feel free to skip this next section because this is obviously totally optional, and these type of pickle chips are widely available in just about every grocery store, at least here in the United States. I started with a standard American slicing cucumber, also known as fresh cucumber, that I sliced on my mandolin set to the widest setting directly into a glass jar that I cleaned with lots of hot soapy water. There are 3 levels of cleanliness in the kitchen that go from clean to sanitary to sterilized. But you don't need to worry about any of that because surprisingly, lacto-fermentation fermentation really only requires the first step, aka soapy water. I made a brine of 500 milliliters of water and 18 grams of unrefined sea salt. My mother-in-law, who makes arguably the greatest kimchi of all time, taught me that great fermentation starts with great salt. And cucumbers in particular, because of their high water content, can lose a lot of their crispiness as they ferment. There are many tricks people use to get around this, but one of the easiest and my go-to is to use this type of unrefined sea salt, which contains calcium and magnesium, both of which will maintain a nice crunch. Combine the water and salt, bring it up to a boil, let it cool to room temperature while you add some dill seeds and a nice handful of fresh dill and a few unpeeled garlic cloves into your jar. Once the water is at room temperature, pour it over the cucumbers. The only thing practically that can go wrong in any lacto-ferment is mold developing on the surface. And the way to prevent this is by keeping everything fully submerged in the brine. I went with this little ramekin that I filled with a little bit of water. Use a clean towel or some cheesecloth to cover the top and hold it down with some rubber bands. These are quick pickles. Mine only brine for about 48 hours. This burger is a nice balance of, leaving out the pickles, simplicity and customization. And the 80-20 blend is easily the most versatile. Finally, it's time for the big dog. Anyone who has worked in a fancy restaurant will know this type of burger. A large 8-ounce molded patty with a combination of poppin' flavors all over it. This is a delicious bite with a Gochujang Ketchup, a mushroom and chili aioli, a truly mind-blowing Yuzu Pickle, shaved red onion, and romaine. This is 8 ounces of 85-15 ground beef, and to be perfectly honest with you, I would still prefer this burger with an 80-20 blend. But I think that this type of burger that relies heavily on different sauces and isn't always well done is most able to take the leaner beef. Instead of the ball, I'm using this style of deli pint container to press the meat into a patty. This is a classic restaurant trick because the divot in the bottom of the container helps keep the patty flat when it wants to expand as you're cooking it. I'm gonna set this aside while I work on these delicious condiments. I added about a cup of shiitake mushrooms into a pan with a few drops of grapeseed oil and salt, and I roasted them at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes until they're just cooked. Put them into your food processor with a few tablespoons of sliced up chili. I went with these Fresnos. Add 2 egg yolks, 125 milliliters of rice vinegar, a heaping tablespoon of kosher salt, and while you are running the machine, drizzle in 500 milliliters of grapeseed oil. This is a delicious and simple mushroom sauce that works great on burgers. To make this ketchup, add 40 grams of minced ginger with a little bit of grapeseed oil and cook it over medium heat until the ginger is lightly brown. Then add 300 grams of ketchup and cook it for a few minutes while you stir to lightly caramelize the ketchup. Then turn the heat off, add 100 milliliters of red wine vinegar and 40 grams of gochujang chili paste. This tastes great just as is, but it can also be blended. And the cooking process layers a lot of flavors nicely, but you can also just combine the ingredients and not cook them at all, which leads to a much easier and almost as delicious sauce. It's time for what I would argue is the single best recipe in this entire video, which are these Yuzu pickles. I started with a European style cucumber, which work great for these quick vinegar pickles. And you can use a peeler to do this because I know most of you do not have a channel knife. These pickles taste much better when there's a little less skin. So peel along the side, skip a line, and peel again and repeat all the way around. You can use a mandolin, but I sliced these into rounds and added them into a jar. Then combine 300 milliliters of rice vinegar with 125 grams of cane sugar and 8 grams of salt. Bring this up to a boil and let it cool to room temperature. Then pour the vinegar over the sliced cucumbers and add 100 milliliters of yuzu juice. You can buy this stuff at your local Asian grocer or on Amazon. And if you have not tried yuzu before, you are in for a treat. It is a remarkable citrus. Look out for the stuff that only lists yuzu in the ingredients. They should sit for at least 30 minutes before you eat them. This is a fast and especially delicious pickle recipe. I also thinly sliced a few leaves of romaine lettuce and thinly sliced half a red onion. Season the patty thoroughly with kosher salt, and because of the leaner beef, you're going to need to add a little bit of oil to the pan before you add the burger. Let it cook on one side until it's deeply brown, and unlike the other ones, you do not want to press this down at all. You want all of those delicious juices to stay inside of the patty. Then flip it and cook it until it's your desired temperature. My favorite way to check is to cut into the top of the spatula and look inside. Once you're happy with it, throw on a few slices of your favorite burger cheese, in my case, pepper jack, And if you want it melted, throw it into the oven or use a blowtorch. For this one, I'm going with the Big Marty's sesame bun, which is my favorite sesame bun. And because we're getting all of the flavors we need from the sauces, I think that this type of seeded bun is perfect. Start with the ketchup on the bottom, then put your patty down. Then the aioli and the toppings on the top. This burger is actually a slightly simpler version of one that I made in one of my very first YouTube videos, where I talk about the food science that goes into this sauce layout. So if you're curious about that, I'd encourage you to check that one out. But anyway, that is all for me on this one. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.